The Honourable Trevor Khan.
Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, could I first comment, in a sense, on the appropriateness of the motion that is brought forward in its general sense. Recently, I was in Tamworth. It seems to be becoming less and less frequent, but nevertheless, as is my wont, I seem to end up with a camera in front of me, and yes, a different sort of camera on this occasion. The cameraman who I've got to know fairly well said to me, "What does that Christine Robertson actually do?"
Who is that Christine Robertson?
That was close to the mark. And I went on to explain that indeed his perception was quite wrong. She plays a valuable role within the Australian Labor Party and in our community, and this form of motion is a demonstration of her commitment not only to the Tamworth region but to the people of New South Wales, and she's to be congratulated for that.
Next time you'll get jammed for green.
Now, let me say that obviously a great deal has already been said with regards to the inquiry into overcoming Indigenous disadvantage, and indeed it creates a significant roadmap or starting point for a debate such as this. And it's worthwhile referring in part to some of the material in that report. At 6.1 in Chapter 6, the following observation is made. The Two Ways Together report on Indicators 2007 states that education and training are fundamental to reducing Aboriginal disadvantage and enabling greater self-determination and equal participation in the wider community. However, results outlined in this, the most recent Two Ways Together report on Indicators 2007, show that there has been no significant improvement in the proportion of Aboriginal students reaching the literacy and numeracy national benchmarks between 2001 and 2005, and there remains a considerable gap in the achievement of Aboriginal students and all students. By the time Aboriginal children reach Year 3, they are on average 19 months behind non-Aboriginal students in literacy and reading skills. Aboriginal students are approximately half as likely to complete Year 12 as non-Aboriginal students. Lack of education has been described by Mr Frank Pearce, the Aboriginal State Coordinator of Aboriginal Education in New South Wales Independent Education Sector, as one of the root causes of Indigenous disadvantage, which impacts on aspects of Indigenous life and well-being. And I quote, "Poor education levels lead to poor job prospects, which leads to poor and, in a lot of cases, substandard income, which leads to poor housing, nutrition and health. This in turn leads to low self-esteem and lack of motivation. In order to overcome all of these disadvantages, a good quality education is essential, to be it in the public or private education systems." 6.4. Health outcomes are also affected by education, as explained by Mr Gary Hyland, the National Director, Australians for Native Title and Reconciliation. I quote, "To close the life expectancy gap, it is essential to understand that good health is linked to social determinants like education, employment and housing." I could go on, but Chapter 6 in the introduction clearly paints two pictures. One of them is the very fundamental importance of education to closing the gap. But the report clearly also identifies we have a very long way to go, and indeed our performance in closing the gap has been, perhaps in some regards, stagnant over recent times. That's not meant as a criticism, but one has heard here today a great deal of talk about, in a sense, how well things are going. What I say is, well, the statistics don't seem to bear that out quite so clearly. In some regards, since 2001, performances have slipped back, not moved forward. With that caveat, let me say that there were some very positive things that came out of the inquiry, and we saw a number of projects which appeared to show great promise into the future. One of those was a program at Collyamberley, which was the Takandi Inabara program, a program which was quite unique and quite exciting in in the way it approached issues involving young boys in the Aboriginal community. Ms Colleen Murray took us on a tour of the facility, and it was quite plain that not only was she passionate, not only was she a strong advocate for her own community, but she knew what she was doing and how she was going to get it. She was, in every sense of the word, inspiring. She was asked questions by the Honourable Greg Donnelly at one point, and in part her answer was this: well, first of all, they have to be Indigenous, and they have to be between the ages of 12 and 15 years. That is, the lads who are going to get into the program. As I said before, that age limit has been prescribed to me, so that is what we run with. I do not think it is ideal. She then goes on and says, this is an early intervention centre and the boys need to be just coming to the notice of police, disengaging from school, family life and community life, exhibiting anti-social type behaviours. They can actually come because they are significantly disadvantaged academically. We like these type of boys because here they can get close to a one-on-one situation. It would be very pleasant if we had lots of those boys with no behavioural problem, but that is not the reality. It is a chicken and egg thing. Once they are severely academically disadvantaged, then they have got behaviour problems. We find that consistently. A great program with a great advocate. The details of Te Khandi Inabara were dealt with at length in Chapter 3 of the final report. What is the tragedy? What is the tragedy of Te Khandi Inabara is at the time when we were finalising the report, what we didn't know was that there is a threat, a continuing threat to the education, to the funding of that program. What is the point? What is the point in seeing such great programs set up, huge amounts of money spent on them, then to find that the guts are ripped out of them when the program is withdrawn? If you want to ensure that the Aboriginal community disengages, then give them a program that looks like it works and then take away the funding, or even threaten to take away the funding, as appears to be the case. I congratulate the Honourable Christine Robertson for bringing on the motion, and I congratulate her for highlighting many of the issues. No doubt, if time were allowed, I could speak further, but nevertheless, I commend all those who've spoken today.